Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at Hagerty.com.
On Wednesday, the Sport and Challenge classes gave us an idea of the difficulties that come with racing here. Tonight, the club and pro drivers will try to show them how it's done. But will they also get caught out by this deceptive road course? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Event 4 of the 2022 Zone Group Championship presented by Hagerty Motorsports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Michael Johnson and Rachel Whiteford. Nicholas Weatherby is on social media, along with Ryan Bauer producing, who is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. As always, the PCA Sim Racing Series is brought to you by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Hagerty, let's drive together. And with the drivers already driving around the track, let's take a brief moment to take a look at our track guide to introduce you as well to this fantastic Alabama road course. Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. Located just east of Birmingham, Alabama, this is one of the newer circuits in American road racing. The track was built in 2003 by George Barber to go along with his Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, which can be seen appropriately from Museum Corner on the track. While the main circuit is the full course, which includes 16 turns over roughly 2¼ miles, there are also two lesser used layouts called the Short A and Short B courses. The track is known for its technical layout and hugely dramatic elevation changes. In every category of racing, it carries a reputation of making overtakes difficult. That's not to say it's impossible, with most passes happening into Charlotte's Web. Named for the spider sculpture outside the hairpin, it often suckers drivers into braking too deep with the sudden drop just as you attempt to slow the car down. That's not the most challenging part of the circuit, though. Museum Corner is reminiscent of turns like the corkscrew, with its blind entry, multiple apexes, and cliff-like plunge down a hill. IndyCar and IMSA have visited many times in the past decade, while motorcycle racing is also a regular staple here. Practice and precision are usually required to be able to find a fast lap, but there's a heavy dose of bravery also needed in a number of spots. Despite the track being very wide, accidents often collect multiple cars due to the lack of visibility over crests. All in all, this place proves tough to even seasoned veterans. But with the hillsides and trees providing beautiful natural viewing spaces and an immaculate facility, it's no wonder fans keep showing up in droves to watch the racing here. Well, Michael, we're taking the GT3 class cars, these Porsches, out to this track. What's the experience going to be like for the drivers here today?
It is going to be quite a harrowing experience. Every corner here, it seems like, there are a couple you can see, but almost every corner here is blind. You're going into turn one, you can't see it because it's below the crest of the hill. You come around, you're going up through what we like to call Newgarden's Crest, turn four. You can't see it, it's the crest of a hill. Diving down into Charlotte's Web, you just can't see it. There's 16 turns here. Well, depending on how you count it, I think there's like a 14A and 14B. Some people call them 14, 15. But you've got a lot of turns here. I swear half of these are blind, and it's really difficult. You can see on board here right now with Stephen Kemp going into that Charlotte's Web corner. It's blind, and as he runs down this little straightaway here, he's going to go into Museum Turn, also a blind corner. You have to watch for your brake markers right in between 2 and 1. He's going to go into the brakes and then pinch it right in there, and hey, look, all of a sudden there's a turn, and we're flying down a hill. So many blind corners here. It's going to make watching the flags very important. You need to know what's going on up ahead of you. And if there's a yellow flag, be certain there's somebody spun in the middle of the track, so you got to slow down and really take your time to get through there so you don't become part of an incident. So really, this track is about being patient, being thoughtful, and just putting together really good, solid laps.
No doubt about that. And we saw last time out, it can be kind of tough to try and make those overtakes out here. But considering that, Rachel, last time we saw some fantastic stuff here with this club group, but then with the pros, it looked like some drivers maybe were getting a little bit aggressive back at Auto Club. I worry that maybe that'll cause some problems out here when we get to those pros later today.
Yeah, certainly possible, of course. This one tends to be the more cool-headed race, I think, and the Pro one can be a little bit more excitable. What's more concerning, though, is it's a little cooler and the sky is clear, so we could actually have a very grippy track, which might make it more racy, which, with how difficult it can be to pass, might encourage some attempts.
Indeed, as we now ride on board with Waldron, only he and Patrick Gill still need to set a time here. They get 3 laps to do so, and poor Waldron's already unfortunately lost his first 2 attempts. They got deleted. Third one is a charm indeed. A 1:21.5, and actually that was much needed. He put himself in 5th with that single lap that counted. Patrick Gill, well, he's still in pit lane, and his first 2 laps also deleted, unfortunately. So he is done with his qualifying. He's going to be plopped at dead last on the grid itself. Roadheaver, in the meantime, on the final flyer in his bright magenta and gray 982. Coming around the final turn. Let's see if this one's going to count. My timing and scoring is showing that it looks like an out lap, and indeed, that one gets deleted for him. Checking to see if we have anybody else able to set one. And I think James Hayosh, who is our pole sitter already, might be the only one, so that's a bit of a moot point. Oh, no, Daniel Rubel. Daniel Rubel might have one more, it seems, Michael, to try and see if he can steal this back from the 16.
Well, Daniel had it pretty well tied up in the practice session, sitting with some really good times. Now, they may have been somewhat helped out by some draft here and there, got a good drafting partner. The draft does work a little bit here. These straights are not very long, but you can gain a half a tenth to a tenth, or you can go and be part of the landscaping crew, as we saw right there.
So Rubel's got a great chance. Hayosh abandoned his final lap, so he's done the 4. A little bit wide, and now he looks a little slow to me. I think this is an abandoned lap as well for the number 4. So, yeah, he is just kind of plundering down here into the start-finish line, and that is it for him. Also, before we go off to the grid, we want to give you a reminder that PCA Sim Racing's social media offers up in-race reports, breaking news, and announcements through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To subscribe, key in the platform name and add /PCA Sim Racing. It's just that easy. Definitely go and follow through those various outlets and stay up to date here in these races. But let's go through our starting order James Hayosh is going to be on the pole out there today. Daniel Rubel will be starting in second. You've got Kevin Douglas in the third position, followed by Logan Grado in fourth. Will Waldron will start from fifth position, followed by Jared Roadheaver to his outside. Daniel Florian will start seventh. David Glenn starts in eighth. And then the last row has Dean Chapman on the inside and Gary Rice on the outside. Michael?
P11 is Stephen Kemp with a nice time of 121.7, followed closely by Randall Ayers, Peter Yerxa in 13th, right behind them, Keith Morgan, Terrence Tong, Michael Patterson, Jake Steinbrink, Michael McKenney. 19th brings us Volker Krebs, and then in 20th we have Donald Binkley.
21st, we have Brett Holmes with Bruce Robinson 22nd, Carol Davis in 23rd, with Paul Netto in 24th, and we saw his unfortunate lap there, Patrick Gill in 25th.
25 car field out there today, and that'll be plenty to keep us moving around this track, no doubt. Speaking of keeping it moving, you'd have to watch out for the off tracks as well, as they have an incident limit here. At 12 incidents, they will get themselves a drive-through penalty, and every 5 after that, they are then sent back in once again. And they will start under the pace car, behind the pace car, as they prepare things here. And then they will be released for 40 minutes, which will include a pit stop today. So something to watch out for. Based on what we saw Wednesday night, Michael, what's your advice to these drivers? Was there anything in particular you noticed that seemed to be a trend that you say they need to keep the heads up about?
Well, I think it really comes down to patience. And this is something I'm constantly beating into the heads of my, well, that sounds a bad way to say it, but really trying to get the point across to everyone I coach is patience is key. If you're trying to go too fast, if you're pushing the car too much, you're going to be slow. 100.1%, you may as well be doing 90% because you're overdriving the car, you're pushing it too far, and you're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to cost you. I don't care if you're second a lap faster than the person behind you. That one moment you spend, even if you don't hit a wall, you're still losing a massive amount of time. So it comes down to really that patience, which turns itself into precision, and precision wins the race.
Let's hope. I know I've got my eye on turn one, especially here for at the start. Last time, Rachel, that seemed a bit like Calamity Corner.
Yeah, I think it's got spicy in turn one in the last races, but hopefully this will be a little bit more moderated. They'll have seen that, and we noticed they learn a lot from the Wednesday race. So the club and pro classes tend to watch the Wednesday race and see what the trends are. Hopefully we'll not see that, but there's plenty of other parts of the track.
That's for sure. And it's always easy to be caught out because there's so many difficult ones around here. Excuse me. As we do want to remind you as well that we have more racing after this. You hear us talking about the pro class. They have 2 races that take part each event, as tonight is event 4. First up with the club class that you're watching right now, and then after that, don't go away because the pros will be out on track shortly after that. And that is the top class, the top skilled class here in the PCA. So coming down through Museum Corner here at pace speed, going to be a lot easier for these drivers this time through, especially too wide. And then they're going to be unleashed next time through at full tilt. Hopefully they're mostly going to be single file next time for that one, especially on this back half of the course. This is perhaps one of the few places where I kind of want to change something in this track, because otherwise I love this place, Michael. I kind of wish there was a version that was just a straight shot down into turn 13.
Well, sure. I still like the challenge and well, you have to stay behind me this time because you can't go too wide through here if you want to make any time through that. But, you know, there are places you can be too wide. For example, turn 1, you can go too wide there. I do not envy James Hayosh. He's on pole, and it's kind of a negative position to be in if that P2, and we know number 4, Daniel Rubel, he's a good driver. He could get a really good launch and get out there to get up under him for that turn 2-3.
Well, we'll find out soon enough because Hayosh now has control of the field as the pace car is in. waiting patiently for Barney to give him that green flag. Here we go. As they come down the front stretch, there it is. Green flag is out. Hayosh does not get a great jump over Rubel. Up around the outside. Will he challenge? No, he's going to back out of it. Lets him have the apex behind him. It looks like Grado is going to be able to take P3. Douglas is a little bit caught out around the outside. Not seeing any incidents in the first corner. But, Michael, they're coming up to Charlotte's Web. Let's see if we're going to be safe into here.
Charlotte's Web is our big first braking zone. We're going to see the whole field pack up right here, trying to get those noses in. We've got a little bit of contact going on, almost a parking lot at the braking zone in there, which is really going to spread out this field.
That is that orange zone that they have around here. The drivers expected to behave on this first lap. Thankfully, everybody really being respectful into that Charlotte's Web hairpin down through Museum Corner. Little bit of side-by-side in there, but not a lot so far. I like what I'm seeing, Rachel.
Yeah, very calm driving right now on board there with Stephen Kemp. You can see his driver cam as well, which is always cool to see. Running through here in the back straight, and these guys are really managing their space fairly well. We're seeing a lot more patience, I think, in this race.
And I love that we've got his VR headset view kind of in the screen there as well, so we can kind of see where he's looking down into each corner. Right now he's looking all over the bumper of Dean Chapman as, here we go, as we ride on board with him. And as you watch in the bottom right, let's see if he can see past him. No, he is going to have to stay in line. Back in that 11th spot for the time being. Up in front of him, it looks like Waldron and Roadheaver having a little bit of a battle, but I think Roadheaver is going to come out with 5th in that one.
Yeah, these guys are still trying to feel each other out a little bit. You don't want to push too hard at the beginning of the race. It's important to kind of set your boundaries, get through this opening section, let things kind of set up themselves into little pelotons. As we see one developing there, we've got a fairly good, and we have our first spin going down into, that was into the museum corner. Quite a spin.
And that was our driver in 4th place. That was Grado, who's going to drop well down the order into 14th. Was there any contact with the others, though? I couldn't quite catch it. We've got the replay here, Rachel. I looked over and I saw a car going sideways down the hill.
Yeah, we're seeing what's happening now on the replay, and he comes down here into this section, which is quite a tricky one to sync up, but the back end just stepped out, I think. I don't know if we got contact there, but, everyone got so lucky.
Yeah, I think that was Roadheaver who had to back out of it, and then in front of him, for some reason, Glenn is now slow. Is this a slowdown penalty? The 172 is dropping as we watch another view, just managing to stay out of it. Roadheaver, great job of avoiding a big incident, and now he gets another spot because of that. He's up into 6th, but he did have to check up.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about when we were going through that pace lap, that you really have to be aware of what's going on around you. We saw in the races on Wednesday night, there were a few cars spinning, and we noticed some drivers really paying attention to what was going on ahead of them, being able to thread the needle, as it were, to get through those spinning cars or that one spinning car and just get past without hitting them and making up a place. Letting someone else spin, easiest way to pass them.
Still trying to figure out. I think David Glenn got a speeding penalty and decided to serve it through the final carousel, and that backed up the field behind him. He almost got away with it and prevented everybody from passing. But as we come back to Tong now, who is, where is he sitting at this stage?
P10.
10, okay. Yeah, this is up actually 5 positions. And in front of him, it is Stephen Kemp. We're looking back at Tong now. This mid-pack has been just full of action, and they're not done with it at all, Rachel. I'm seeing them stack up essentially behind what looks like Randall Ayers.
Glenn hitting pit road here from 14th place. Not sure if it's contact or an early jump for the stop. It's very early, 5 minutes in. Roadheaver here in 6th place, looking forwards. Could have been a bit of a moment there for him, but either way, looking right now, coming through the roller coaster section, and it's just really looking for something here, but I just don't think right now is... Everyone's just managing space and trying to be careful. That's the safe thing, because too much room for error with cars being so close together.
And unfortunately, we're getting news that David may have hit the Armco on the way in. We talked about that a lot on Wednesday. Also, I have a theory on him. I saw a black flag, and I suspect he tried to serve the slowdown and didn't give enough back and got himself a little penalty, a stop and go. So that's what we're potentially seeing there as we come back live to Road Heaver here in the gray and purple car once again. And that's Florian we're on board with, Michael.
Yeah, we're on the car in front. We were on the car in front. This is going to turn into a very nice battle here. These guys are sitting back waiting to get into those podium positions. This is a place I often sit in a race as we, coming through the bowl. Really nice push, trying to put some pressure on him. So we've got Road Heaver coming up on Ayers, trying to make a little bit of pressure, trying to say, hey, look, I'm faster. May not actually be, but it's the head game. Here we go, and now we're looking from behind. Daniel Florian kind of doing the same thing, closing up really big under braking, and then actually goes a little wide through turn one and loses everything he made up.
A little ambitious, and now he's going to get a hello from Chapman. Yeah, apologies. I was saying that was Florian we were watching from. It was Ayers in front of him. Still, the battle just continues to work itself backwards. We get a chain reaction and then look to the inside, but Chapman gets chopped off down into Charlotte's Web, and everybody spreads out once again. Up and over into Museum Corner, we hop on board with Kemp, who we've been watching from for a good chunk of this first stage of the race, and he's looking like he really wants this, Rachel. He's getting very close to the back of the 13.
Yeah, the Northern Region driver there is really looking for opportunities, trying to find that opening, and maybe it's a mistake. Maybe he just wants a chance to use his car to get through on his own right, which is entirely possible, but I don't know if he's quite close enough for it.
Well, let's hope he doesn't actually use the car and use the bumper here to try and push him off, as that will likely result in a penalty. And Road Heaver still with Ayers. We heard Michael talking about trying to get into his head, but he's fallen back a little bit once again. Will he try and close in as they drift a little bit off to the left and then back into the right-hand side to open up turn one? He closes, but not aggressively. Let's see, Michael, if he's going to have a chance into Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, Charlotte's Web is the place to make it up, but I think Ayers has a little bit better speed on the first half of this course. Now, what happens after this is we get into some of these heavier braking zones in these little spots where the car just is kind of off balance, like going through turn 12 and through that area. You get really unbalanced in the car, and it's kind of crazy. I think Road Heaver has a little better feel through that portion of the track, which is why he's able to close up so much in the closing part of the lap. As we take a look here, we got Rubel trying to make a run for the lead. He wants to get up there. He's not letting James get out of his sight. He wants to close this up as soon as he can.
Little update, unfortunately, Grado, in his attempts to try and get back through the field, made contact with Keith Morgan. There was an aggressive defense that wound up with the two coming together, and Morgan slid off. But yeah, this battle for the lead has come down to about half a second, and they are 3.5 ahead of Kevin Douglas. So basically it's become a two-horse race at the front. And that's not to say it's going to stay like this, though. As we saw last round, the race can certainly change complexion in a hurry, especially just from minor mistakes.
Yeah, it really can, and this is one of those things you'll find often in these races is one little mistake can lead to a whole chain reaction of others, and it just takes one person to put their foot wrong and puts people on their nerve, and they're a little bit cautious, and when they're cautious, they make more mistakes.
Speaking of mistakes, looks like Gary Rice is going to be the next one on that one. He falls all the way down to 23rd, unfortunately, and a little farther up, this train just keeps going. It's Grado ahead of Yurtsa, Krebs, Patterson, Steinbrink, Holmes, McKinney, Binkley, Robinson, Neto, Gill, and Davis all the way back into 22nd position from 11th.
Yeah, that's a tough fall right there. Looking at Reese, 13 positions down. Really tough, but it's part of racing, and this race is not over. I have been watching and calling races this week where I've watched somebody spin on lap 2, go all the way to the back, and come back to win the race. Not saying that's going to happen today, but it could. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Looks like we got a pit from Grado, and I'm not sure what's causing this. We'll try and come back to that in a bit. What's interesting here about Roadheaver, Rachel, is Ayers has actually done a great job getting to where he sits, but now he's having to play defense because he's 7 up from where he started currently.
Yeah, he's got a big push, and there comes a time where you need to actually stop pushing and consolidate, because when you're in that attacking kind of mind space, you can actually leave doors open behind you, so he does have to now worry about holding what he has.
And right now he's having to work hard for that. His Roadheaver looked like he wanted that one on the brakes, just about pushing him out of the corner, coming through Museum. And now he is on the charge as we ride on board at the back of this train. This is Tong's view as we see his perspective.
I think Roadheaver's going to get around him. If we watch up close up front, it looks like Roadheaver had a side-by-side as they came up into the tunnel, but then thought better of it, decided to back out. He's testing it. He's testing the water. He's dipping a toe in there. We're going to take a look at the replay right here. Watch as they come out of Museum Corner right here. Now you're going to see how we get a nice positioning, gets a little bit too wide. It's not a good defensive position, and now he's going to touch the grass. Oh, now side-by-side, coming up into the side-by-side position, showing a little dominance, but then backing out to let him know that next time we come through here, this one's mine.
Unfortunately, there won't be a next time, because you can see he spun in the final corner, and he's all the way down to 22nd. He was stuck on the inside of the circuit without a place to go, so he had to wait for the field to go by. Back to Rubel, 0.4 of a second now, 2 more tenths gone, and he's going to start to feel a little bit of slipstream. So this is looking like it's going to be really fun here, Rachel, and that was a bad run for Hayosh.
Oh, yeah, he tried something, but it just wasn't, didn't maybe manage it enough, but I think he just ran and didn't have the space for it. But they're still battling here, and they are still going for this thing. I just think he's in maybe okay. Yeah,
well, he's got it.
He got it. He got around.
I think that was a little generous from James. He was way off the apex through the tunnel turn.
Yeah, he was quite a bit off of it, and that's kind of a replay from what we watched in the previous with Roadheaver. It was kind of the same idea, but these two played it a little bit differently, and Rubel was able to get through. Now, that was with some help from Hayosh, like you were saying. Hayosh is like, well, we still have a pit stop to go here. I don't want to push everything too hard, and the pit strategy might work in his favor. Maybe he's got it down pat.
Oof, watching from Patterson here on Volker Krebs, and not able to get by for now. As behind him, you can see in his mirrors there as we rode on board, that's Jake Steinbrink in the red and white that is hounding him at the moment. Krebs is another one that is doing a great job with 9 positions up. In fact, he might be our hardest charger in the field currently.
I think he is. Yep, that's what I say. I see him 9 positions up. He's doing quite well in the Haribo car. And one of my favorite candies as a kid was Haribo. So yeah, I'm loving the car.
I'm sure it tastes sweet right now, but let's hope that it'll stay that way throughout the race, because he still has more than half of it yet to go. And he's certainly in the midst of quite a big pack, because Patterson behind him, Steinbrink, McKenny as well could easily gather him up and put him down multiple positions. We're on board with McKinney with a fantastic run. It's going to take a brave person to try and pass into the tunnel turn, and no, he's not willing to risk it here. Goes for the over-under maybe. He had a better exit, and still no. Steinbrink doesn't offer an opening, Rachel.
No, he doesn't. Steinbrink's playing a nice defensive game with this one, as we see another car down pit road. It's McKinney from the Cimarron region there, coming down for, this will be service window, so this could be a valid stop here for him. Walter Chapman here, Northern New Jersey region driver from 7th, looking towards 6th and 5th ahead of him, so top 5 very visible. That's always going to make you a little bit more brave, shall we say, when you can see that many positions in front of you.
Whoa, speaking of which, maybe too brave, way off into the grass, there goes Florian. I'm not sure if that was an attempted pass or he just straight up missed his braking point. We're hearing there may have been some contact. Michael, talk us through this.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replay here as we come down in through this nice sweeping corner, trying to get the power down, get right on the edge, up over the Newgarten crest, as we like to call it here, coming down right at that 2 marker. You want to get on the brakes, but a little bit too late, trying to be a little over aggressive getting into that corner, and made contact. Fortunately, didn't appear to affect the other car, but definitely put him several positions back.
Big old side swipe. I'm sure that woke up Chapman in the meantime as we come back on board with Terrence Tong in P7, the 388, doing fairly well. But as we cross the 25-minute mark of tonight's race, it's time to bring you the Hagerty Motorsports Race Break. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Hagerty, let's drive together. Up at the top, Daniel Rubel may not have started this thing on the pole, but he's taken the lead away, and after a brief challenge, he has been trying to run away from everybody else. It looks like he's starting to deliver on that, because James Hayosh, he was within about 0.4 of a second, and now he is starting to drop away as the number 16 just doesn't have it in him currently, and is 2.5 seconds behind. He's going to have to hustle from this point on. Maybe he can use the pit stops to help him out. Kevin Douglas has been a bit anonymous, but to his credit, it is now about a second closer than what we saw many laps ago over James Hayosh. Maybe that will also change as Will Waldron sits back in 4th position. Now, he was very close to some of the battles before, but has basically gone off to race his own little race in that green number 24. So he is trying to kind of focus on what he's doing himself for the time being. Randall Ayers, one of the ones we were talking about before, who seems to have gotten himself some friends. Now, he survived a close incident there for a moment as a car side-swiped him, but he's going to have more trouble behind because here comes the bright fluorescent yellow of Dean Chapman in the 13. He's close, but not close enough this time. He's not going to try and dive it in. He certainly looks like he's trying to size him up and set something up for later. After that, you get to Terrence Tong in the 7th position, also kind of patiently looking to see if he can pick up the scraps. It's always the advantage of being this 3rd car in a line that's potentially battling, as those 2 in front could slow up and you can pick them both off. Meanwhile, in 8th place, Daniel Florian. He was farther up in this group just a couple laps ago. We saw him dive down into Charlotte's Web, but we think that may have been him simply out-braking himself. Thankfully, the car is still rolling and still in a decent position. What's the next 8 look like, Michael?
Well, in P9, it looks like we have Peter Yerxa, who's been quietly moving up here, up 4 positions in this race so far. Just being, doing what I was saying right at the beginning, is just putting down those laps, not trying to make too many waves, and kind of stealthily sneaking through there. P10 is Volker Krebs. He's driving that Haribo car. I love the Haribo. It just makes me giggle every time I see him on screen. Looking at P11, we've got Donald Binkley. Now, this is a group of fast movers, people who've been moving up the field. We had Krebs and then Binkley. Right behind him, Bruce Robinson also is up 10 positions. It was 9 for the 2 in front of him. He's up 10, but right behind him in P13, Patrick Gill up 12 positions. 12 positions moving up. Like I was saying, you just got to be patient and work your way through, and who knows what can happen. So looking back now, we've also got another heavy mover, 9 places up, Carol Davis, really doing a nice job, just working through the field. digging that paint job too. This is a really nicely done livery on this car. I wish I could do liveries that well. Whoever you got to do it, please have them contact me, because I'd love them to do something like that for one of my cars. That one's really nice. Right behind there in P15 is Stephen Kemp from the Nordstern region, Zone 10, doing a nice job also, just trying to work his way through there. We've got our camera on him, so he's got that single monitor, but don't let that fool you. Those VR goggles give you a beautiful ability to see distance as you're working your way around this track. In P16, going on to P16, we've got Jared Rodeheaver. Now, Jared was doing a brilliant job early on, but then had a little bit of trouble. Got a spin while we were watching a brilliant attempt at a pass, or at least a test of a pass, and just didn't quite make it. Unfortunately spun, but working his way back up through the field, because I think he was back around 22nd or so right after that happened. Moving on up to P17.
P17 is Michael Patterson of the Longhorn region there, Texas, zone number 5 for the 29 machine. Patterson so far, down one, sorry, from starting 16th. 18th is Brett Holmes from the Las Vegas region there, in that Martini car, I should say. The 06 machine from zone number 8 is up 2. Jake Steinbrink, the Ohio Valley region driver, in the 46 from zone 4. Where's he running today? He is down 1 from 17th. 19th is, well, him again, Michael McKinney, actually, technically, is 20th overall with cycling through pits. Cimarron region, zone number 5, and now it's David T. Glenn in 21st from Hill Country region in the 172 machine there from zone 5. Paul Netto from the Upper Canada region in 22nd. He's up 2 from 24th, but not been a productive race for him so far. 23rd is Gary Rice from the Peach State region there of zone 3 in the 9 machine. Reese down from 10th. It's been a rough one so far. Behind him it's Keith Morgan there from the Central Indiana region in the 700 car, zone number 4. Morgan's down from 14th, a drop of 10. And we have Logan Grado, who's back at the rear end here. Golden Gate region driver is unfortunately suffering from a really rough race. Started 4th, but it's not been a great night.
And this concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Hagerty Motorsports. A big thank you to them for sponsoring the series. And it looks like we got a couple more black flags. I don't know if we mentioned, but Grado did get one, and also Daniel Florian has been given one for the dive bomb that we witnessed, and they're going to have to be serving those. Bruce Robinson, who we see here in the 8th position, still needs his pit stop. In fact, the top 10 on the track are still looking for their fuel stop here, and they've got just a couple more minutes before they're going to have to come down and take that. But we're used to this here, Michael, with the drivers trying to take it as long as they can in these GT machines before they have to come down and take the last of the fuel on.
Yeah, hopefully these folks are using a spotter who's also paying attention to where the holes are in traffic and who is in those areas. So when you come out after your pit, where are you going to be? Where are you going to fold into this group? So it's really important when you're making that pit stop that you know where you're going to be. You don't want to get caught up in someone else's battle that's slowing you down. So sometimes it makes sense to just try to go long as you're not stuck in someone else's battle. But we noticed the other night, really good pit stop strategy can work to your advantage. So it could end up, even though Rubel right now has over a 2-second lead after that pass, if something doesn't go quite right in the pit stop rotation, or he gets caught up in traffic, it could put him right back into the clutches of James Hayash.
And that might actually happen, as now we switch over to a battle for 18th position here between McKinney and Yerxa. Let's stay here, but, you know, Rachel, I'm kind of keeping half an eye on Rubel. He's coming up on lap traffic. Looks like he's going to be able to get by, so we don't need to go there. But that keeps happening. That's the kind of thing that Hayash is waiting for.
Yeah, it really is. It's what Hayash really needs to see happen. I think he let Rubel go early because, realistically, there's no point fighting that early in the race. Why bother? It's going to slow you both down. If I'm defending as the leader to the guy in second who's clearly faster, that backs up third, fourth, fifth, sixth to us, or it backs us up to them, I should say, meaning that then it has now become a 3-way fight, a 4-way fight, a 5-way fight. I'd rather take second than potentially fifth. But it also means if the guy's faster, you can train behind him and both go faster and maybe find a chance later when he burns his tires.
There you go. Well, let's see if that's the case, because he has been regaining a little bit, but this is still very tight. Patterson ahead of Steinbrink with Brett Holmes in there, Yerksen and McKinney, who we were watching a little bit earlier. This is basically all the way up from, well, what is now 14th position, because Florian now pits in, so they all get promoted one down to the 18th position. I guess you could count Donald Binkley in there, just trying to hold on to the very tail of the train. And you can see him now off of Michael McKinney, desperately trying to hold on and keep in this fight. But down into Charlotte's Web, while Steinbrink keeps getting close. He's not close enough, or is he? A defensive move from Patterson. He's starting to feel a threat. He blocks off the inside. And no official move there from Steinbrink. Comes back into the racing line, deciding it's not worth the risk at this stage.
Yeah, I gotta say, I like Steinbrink's livery he's got going on here. If we can get a shot from the back of Steinbrink, I just love the message there. It really discourages people from trying to pass him. So he's got this Coast Guard on there, but on the back, it's got a little warning about passing. And if we can hopefully get Holmes a little bit closer. Holmes has been watching this for a good while. It says, danger, keep away. Now, this is where the motor is, and you see those flames shooting out the back, and that just helps drive that point home. But, he's doing everything he can to try to stay up here. And I think we might see Patterson trying to put on a little bit heavier defense in the coming laps.
I wouldn't doubt it. Oh, and our leader's in. Rubel is pitting. Try to see if this did involve traffic. He did see Paul Nito in front of him, but he probably could have had at least one more lap before he caught him. But what will this do for our battle for the lead? Meanwhile, down here, as Patterson keeps that gap of about 0.7 of a second over Steinbrink, far enough away that he doesn't have to fret this time down into Museum Corner. The Martini liveried Brett Holmes in the 06. Just behind, we hop on board with the 527, the Zone 5 driver of Michael McKinney, looking to launch himself off of Museum Turn and around the back half of the course. This is one of the lowest parts through there. Not able to make too many gains, it looks like, but this train has been holding steady, and as the pressure builds, Rachel, surely something has got to happen that'll give him opportunity.
Yeah, someone will put a foot wide, a tyre wide, I should say, not a foot. They don't walk around the track unless it's the Flintstones Racing Series. But if one of them will make a mistake, or the tyres will degrade a little bit, and somebody will have slightly better performance, and they'll find a way through. These things don't maintain status quo for long. We mentioned earlier, dirty has a huge thing here, and it is. And you'll get one opportunity to clean it up, and you'll get space there, but it's going to take an opportunity.
So Rubel's back out in third. He does have a little more traffic in front of him, so he could potentially find himself slowed up depending on how far Hayosh can go. Well, that answers that. Hayosh is in right now. So here is the potential battle for the lead starting to unfold between Rubel and Hayosh, because if Rubel is a little slow in this pit sequence, James has a great opportunity. Meanwhile, this is coming through the carousel up and around the bowl as Krebs is ahead of Douglas, but just barely. But there's Rubel and Hayosh. Oh, Hayosh is way behind. And despite a much longer pit stop for Daniel Rubel, James Hayosh, is he going to lose second place? No, it doesn't look like it, but it is multiple seconds difference compared to before the stops, Michael.
We were looking at about a 2-second gap when it was 1.8 to 2.2 when they were going in. I think what happened was Rubel saw something developing in front of him, and he wanted to stay out of it. And had Hayosh seen the same thing, I think he might have gone in at the same time. Unfortunately, he did not see it, and Rubel is able to open this up to almost 6.5, 7 seconds.
I have an answer for this. Hayosh hit the wall out of turn 1 on the previous lap. So he actually had damage and had to take a spare car. So the 16 is actually very, very lucky that he had that in his pocket and could pit in. He only lost, gosh, you said about 2 seconds? So 4 seconds from that spin.
Yeah, that's lucky to lose only that little bit of time from a spin that included contact. But fortunately, also, he was right in that window to go ahead and take a pit stop. So anytime he may have lost on that last lap or on that in lap, he was able to kind of make up for. Now, as we've seen, he was on pole, and he's a very fast driver, so I think he may be able to recover from this. So let's watch right here as he's diving into turn one, gets that little bit of grass that I was talking about with you guys earlier on behind the scenes where, oh, it'll just catch you out. Those who have driven this with the Porsche experience know that grass is not there in real life. So it makes it a little interesting for these drivers if they've been out here in real life, and that grass, they're not used to it being there.
Indeed. Well, the good news is, Rachel, he hit nose first, and in a Porsche, that's probably the way you want to do it.
I mean, I prefer to not hit a Porsche at all,
True.
to be fair. I think that would be, or any race car, to be honest. It's usually the best option, but yeah, if you're going to hit it somewhere, the front is good, but then again, unfortunately, all the steering gubbins is at the front. You don't want to hit that.
Well, right now, trying to steer his way around Robinson. Brett Holmes going around the outside. Is this going to manage to get him 11th? It looks like the answer is yes. The 06 with a nice advantage up the New Gardens crest and into Charlotte's Web. That was helped out by Steinbrink, who I think also just overtook Robinson as well. And again, this is that group we've been watching, being led by Patterson, sitting in the 9th position after the pit stop sequence has finished up. And we're in the final quarter of the race, Michael. So if they're going to do it, they got to make the pass on track.
Yeah, this is kind of the fight to be in the top 10. We've got Patterson sitting in 9th right now, leading this pack, putting together some pretty consistent lap times as he goes along. But Steinbrink is not ready to give that up. Now, being in P10, still a good finish. I always like to say how many top 10 finishes I have, and it's a good place to be. But P11 right here on board with Brett Holmes, guess what he wants? He wants to be right up one spot, at least one spot closer to the front, just for, you know, a little more bragging rights.
Coming down into turn one once again. Thankfully, haven't seen nearly as many incidents into that corner with this group, unless we've been missing a few. Donald Binkley back there in the 16th spot is still the caboose in this situation. But one little slip up and he could find himself promoted at least a little bit. But it's a large train, looking like at least 8 cars in and amongst them. And again, this is after all the strategy stuff is gone. Unless they catch some traffic, there's really little to it other than sheer grunts and your own pace, Rachel.
Yeah, it's just about hanging on to this whole thing and keeping it going, and sometimes being the caboose is really important. That's what the brakes are. At least they used to be in trains, so yeah, being in the caboose is important. If anything, you know, back when they had cabooses, the engineer used to ride in the caboose, not in the actual engine, so it's a very important position. We always think of it as a bad thing, but the low man on the totem pole is actually the most important as well, don't forget that. So, analogies aside, he's in a great position because he can see trouble coming up ahead. It's actually great to be the back of these trains, because when they all screw up ahead of you, you can dodge it faster.
That's a good point. Of course, he has more to gain in those situations as well. So nowhere to go but up as they come down instead through turn one once again. 7 minutes left to go on the clock already for these drivers. And up and over New Gardens crest, Steinbrink starting to lose a little touch with Patterson again. It's up to 0.7 of a second. He's got to start trying to close that back down if he wants a shot. And they're at something of a stalemate, it almost looks like. We've seen this for some time, and though there's been some ebb and some flow, Michael, it doesn't look like anybody can get close enough to really do what they want to.
Yeah, this group has been trying to make something happen. You can see every lap they're coming through, they'll take a slightly different line, they'll cover a different mirror, they'll apex a little bit later. They're trying everything they can to make up ground, and it's just not working because everybody's doing something different. So you may make up 1/10 of a second here, but you're going to lose 1/10 of a second somewhere else because of that. So right there, what I was just talking about, minorly different lines as we watch them go through coming into the bowl right there, into this last quarter sequence, trying to hold it tight to the right side. shift up early to third gear and just put the hammer down to get through here. Be careful of that grass, but nobody's making up ground. Now, the interesting thing that I noted was if we go back up front, Daniel Rubel's been putting some pretty good laps together. But right behind him, James Hayosh, while he was 7 seconds or about a little over 7 seconds off, he's actually running a faster lap, his previous lap. So he was running a 21.6, where Rubel was at a 21.9. So he's just ticking away little by little. With 5.5 minutes left, I don't think it's enough, but never say never. This is racing.
Did he take tires?
Could have.
I'm not sure if they all take tires. I think they just take fuel. 7 seconds longer, that could be 4 tires.
That very well could be tires. That's an interesting thought, and I wouldn't normally expect to take tires here. This is a very short race, and these tires, I have driven these tires for 90 minutes. Not at this track, but in the sim, I have driven these tires for 90 minutes. Now, they get down to 30%, and you do lose some time, but it's not that much time that I would take that 6, 4, whatever seconds to do it. I don't think it's really going to help them.
Meanwhile, on screen, this is Chapman in the bright yellow machine with Tong just in front of him, and the red, white, and blue as they come out over Newgarden's crest. This is basically for top 5, and unfortunately, beyond that, it's going to be very difficult to get much more because it's almost 8 seconds to Kemp. Oh, yeah, Hayosh is 3 seconds farther down now.
Looks like something happened to him at, I want to say that was Charlotte's Web. Hopefully we can get a replay of that. He is way back now. He is 10 seconds back. We're looking at the replay now as he's coming down into the brake zone. Looks like, I think he got a little bit of grass on right as he went into braking, right there at that 2 marker. And that got him too far out. Could not get that car mowed down to get around Charlotte's Web.
In fact, this has put him under threat because look behind, that's for position. Kevin Douglas could make this from 1st to 3rd for poor James Hayosh. And unfortunately, that's not the sort of race he's looking for right now. Will the 810 be able to demote him? 3 minutes left to go. So potentially only 2, maybe 3 laps that he's got to try and get this done. So they weave their way through Charlotte's Web. Yeah, if he gets just a couple more tenths here, Rachel, this one is on.
Yeah, it really is. He'll be in a really good position to do something here. And with a few minutes remaining, that position change could be permanent. Oh no! Commentator's curse.
And we've been so good with it lately too. We've made comments here and there and go, no, this is not the commentator's curse. But it looks like it caught him that time.
You know, I was worried that I said we haven't seen many spins into turn 1. I thought, oh no, I've said it now. But, well, knock on wood, it's so far so good. Meanwhile, as we come a little farther back, the battle still fierce as we come out of Charlotte's Web between Patterson, Steinbrink, Holmes, Robinson, Yerxa, Gill, and McKinney. That's a mouthful, that one.
Wow, yeah, and I think Douglas may be having some more trouble. He just had another incident going kind of sideways through the grass. I don't know if we can get a replay of that. He had an interesting off. I was watching that on my side monitor as we're watching this main group, this fighting for the top 10 group here. These folks are still kind of running the train. They want to get up into that top 10, but nobody's really able to make up any space on anyone else.
Well, I think, yeah, we're going to get white flag next time by from Daniel Rubel because they're running at 121, 122 laps, and he's on the back half of the course with 1:40 to go. So we come down into turn 1 with our mid-pack battle that could be decisive here. How many points you got to think if you're someone like Patrick Gill at the back of these 5 in front of him. If something starts to unfold, we have a big pileup here in these last 2 laps amongst them. He could just pick them off and find himself as high as 9th place. Oh, and what did I say? There goes Robinson around. Robinson finds himself falling multiple positions. I think Yerxa had a little contact, but Gill and McKinney could not get around it there.
Yeah, that happens. Once you start getting too close and you start trying to push, especially in this last minute of the race, you're trying to go too hard and you're just sending it because you can.
All right, Daniel Rubel has now taken the white flag. I knew it seemed a little too calm out there today. And Rubel almost halfway through this one. There's Barney waving it as the rest of the field comes past the start-finish line for the 1 to go signal. Steinbrink, meanwhile, in 10th position. They've definitely dropped those behind after that incident, and they're getting the 1 to go. Patterson just in front of him. And coming down into turn 1, everybody going to be safe in this group. Looks good to me. They've got very little opportunity. Let's hope that everybody is able to bring this to the finish. I see Bruce Robinson in the pit lane for some reason. I'm not sure if that is related to what we witnessed a little bit before, but we got to go to Daniel Rubel because the number 4 is out of the final corner and to the start-finish line, starting from the front row and going the only position up he could to the lead with a win here at Barber.
Yeah, nice job from Daniel Rubel. Just bided his time through that race, waited for the right opportunity, and the pass happened really in the pits. That's where he got it done.
Rachel, look at this. We've got Chapman still looking at this top 5. Tong is going to have to play defense just a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's going to try, but I think he can hold him off, though. It's looking pretty positive for him. I think the gap is right for it.
Just not quite enough. Although Chapman a little slow and Ayers is right on him. He's got enough fuel to get to the finish. I thought maybe he was running out there. Chapman is going to get 6 with 7th going to Ayers. And that battle that we saw for 9th position, that goes to Patterson. Steinbrink 10th, Holmes 11th, Patrick Gill gets himself up into 12th with a little bit of damage on the front of the car as Yerxa winds up in 13th. We actually have all but one finish on the lead lap. It looks like 20 cars coming to the end as we lost Waldron, Morgan, Roadheaver, and Grado in the end. But there's your top 10 with Daniel Rubel taking the victory as James Hayosh was second. Kevin Douglas finished P3. Stephen Kemp from 11th to 4th, up 7. Very nice. Up 10 for Terrence Tong from 15th to 5th as Dean Chapman went from 9th to 6th. And it's Randall Ayers from 12th to 7th in the end as the Haribo car wound up 9 positions up into 8th place. After that, you had Michael Patterson in P9 and Jake Steinbrink in 10th. Michael.
Yeah, looking at our next 10, we've got Brett Holmes in 11th place. Came up 10 positions, a fight of 10 positions up, but not to be outdone. Patrick Gill right behind him, 13 positions up. Peter Yerxa, Michael McKenney, 14th. We had 15th, Daniel Florian, Donald Binkley, all part of that really interesting fight we were watching in the midfield there, followed by Daniel Nito, Gary Rice, David Glenn, and P20. Rounding it out was Carol Davis. In 21st, we had Bruce Robinson, Will Waldron, Keith Morgan, and Jared Roadheaver were all a lap down. And Logan Grado was 2 laps down at the end.
And that should take us to our interviews here, as I think we've got Daniel Rubel just about ready. And this looked like he certainly had control of it, especially after those pit stops. Daniel started in 2nd place, but you found your way up to the front with a pass. And then from there, did you feel like you had to worry about that lead at all? Or is it, like I said, and it was all under control?
Yeah, I was definitely mindful of James behind me. That guy is fast. And in our zone group championships, we had a pretty epic battle in the last lap. And he took the victory. So this was sweet revenge, I guess. But I know what he's capable of, and I had to be mindful the whole time.
And that you were. I don't know, did you get a chance to watch the Wednesday races? This is one that certainly proved to be pretty challenging for a lot of the challenge and sport drivers. Did you pick up anything from there that you had tried to extra watch out for when you showed up today?
Yeah, I think the key here is to qualify so that you start up front. Turn one is a dangerous roll of the dice, and you've got to qualify strong to have surety that you come out clean. So that was my number one goal coming into the race today, was qualify in the top two.
And that's exactly what you did. But this time out, obviously a win. You finished third. I'm assuming you don't want to complete the podium trio with a second at VIR. Can you get another win there?
I've got the pace. If I can maintain the consistency, I think I've got a shot.
Well, we'll look out for you. It certainly looked pretty flawless out there today. Anybody you want to thank before you go?
Yeah, I want to thank our sponsors, Haggerty, and also, of course, the steering committee and everyone who makes these PCA Sim Racing events possible, Doug, and everyone who puts all the time into this. And then our Zone 2 and 4 group teammates who have really rallied together to make us a competitive group in these events. And one teammate in particular, Jared Roadheaver, always tells me, if you ain't first, you're last, and I took that to heart this race.
I like it. Little Ricky Bobby showed up here in Porsches as we now head off to second place. Is Michael going to be talking to James Hayosh, who did look like he didn't fight too hard. Let's find out the truth behind that now.
So, James, congratulations on a P2. And as I look through here, I think you probably got the fastest lap of the race. So hopefully that's a little consolation for coming in second.
Yeah, certainly. It was. I knew Dan was fast. He's always fast, and even in practice, I knew that I didn't have the pace. And so as I got out early, I knew it was just a matter of time. He was probably just hanging back there, and at some point, I just wanted to let him go by because I knew he was faster.
Well, that's interesting because he thinks you're faster, as we just heard in his interview. So, you told us you guys had a great battle too, so it was a lot of fun earlier on in the zones. Yeah,
Dan he races really well, right? And I can do hot laps. I'm just working on my racecraft, and I knew back there I was not feeling comfortable with the 1 second behind. I knew he was going to get closer and closer, and it was just best to kind of let that happen. We're our zone pretty psyched that we took the first three, so it all turned out great.
So when you took your pit, you were about 2 seconds off of him, and you had a little incident that went on. We were curious if maybe you had possibly taken some repairs or some tires. What happened in the pit that caused you to fall back to about 6-7 seconds behind him?
So pretty simple amateur error here. He went in the pits, and I started toggling through my fuel, adding fuel on there, came into turn one and just hit the grass. Just stupid mistake. That's kind of the only Barber is such a nonstop track. It just your mind is always going. You have no free time. So all you really have is a straight, which isn't very long. So that was when I was toggling to add fuel and just came in a little too hot, hit the grass. And as I came in, I didn't know how bad the damage was. Felt a little wear on the track. Clicked the fast repair coming in, and I think I took a little too much fuel on top of it. Didn't really look at it. But on top of that, to add insult to injury, just prior to that, I lost sound in my headphones. had to go and move over.
It's tough to drive without sound. I get in the car and I watch my lights, and then I listen to the sound. And then when I notice what the sound is, I can shift my sound from then on. And I'm guessing you were doing the same thing.
Yeah, you've got a little more Rain Man in you than me. It was all I could do was just hit the lights and see what was going on. And I was just like, man, oh man. But I'm really happy to have pulled it together and ended up in second for sure.
So you were starting to close it up there at the end. We noticed a couple of times you were running about half a second faster. Now, not a lot of time left. I'm guessing you were trying to throw out the Jedi mind trick maybe to get him to spin. Have you been working on your Jedi mind trick to get that to happen?
No, I wish I was that cool. I honestly was just going as fast as I could. And, as tires are starting to wear and pressures are going up, it gets harder to drive faster. I think I might have possibly just overdriven the car because in those last laps there, it was just like driving on ice for me. So just happy to keep it together and come in second.
Well, it was a beautiful second place finish. It was a joy watching you. Looking forward to seeing how you do at VIR. No pressure, but we're expecting great things. So no pressure at all. So, but right now we've got Kevin Douglas is going to be talking with Rachel.
He certainly is. Kevin Douglas. Third
Hello.
place today, started third on the grid as well. Pretty solid race for you, and just the pace around here seemed to be a lot quicker tonight than we saw in the previous 2 rounds. Is this a track you particularly favor?
I wouldn't say that this track is necessarily my favorite, but somehow I managed to find some pace here with some help from some of the Zone 2-4 guys, and especially Reason Total region.
It certainly seemed that way. Of course, a nice solid result today. Something definitely to help your zone's points in the overall. You've got positive thoughts heading into next week?
I just, try to get some practice time in. I typically don't get a lot of practice time, so that's usually the limiting factor for me, but I'm sure some of the guys will be willing to help out.
I'm sure they will. Anybody would like to give a shout out to or thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank, basically everybody in the PCA Sim Racing organization. A lot of great guys and girls out there. Everybody's always willing to help out. Big shout out to Zone 2-4 and especially everyone in Reason Toter. We always try to help each other out as much as we can, find some pace at all these tracks.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Kevin Douglas coming home today with third.
Thanks.
And while that finishes the racing for the club class, don't forget, we now have the pros up next. It is the top echelon here in the Zone Group Challenge. We'll head off to that here in a second after a word from our sponsor.
Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at hagerty.com.
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park here as we have the PCA Sim Racing Zone Group Championship presented by Hagerty Motorsports, and this has been a fantastic few races that we've had so far, but this is going to be the last one of this week, not the last of the series, though, of course. Before we get to that racing, we want to once again remind you that PCA Sim Racing social media offers up in-race reports, breaking news, and announcements through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To subscribe, key in the platform name and add /PCA Sim Racing. Just that simple. Definitely make sure and subscribe to those because there's lots and lots to keep you entertained. But right now we've got the qualifying underway, and Rafael Amorim currently holds the provisional pole. He's finished up his qualifying. He's used 2 of his 3 laps and he's parked it. And now it's up to everybody else to try and catch him. But I think, Rachel, we're starting to run out of drivers. I think Martineau is still out there able to set one, but not many that I'm seeing with the third one.
Yeah, I think it's a very short list right now. Everyone's looking pretty set with what they're going for here, and Amorim's looking pretty strong up there at the front. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do today, but Leif Peterson as well. Cracking qualifying from him, right up there in second place. That could be a really great run for him.
All right, so sitting in 5th, and right now the timing I'm seeing does show him as a little slow, but again, that might be slightly off. We'll see if he can improve on this 21.086, just half a tenth up to Brody. And will he need a bigger boat is the question as they come. Oh, no, he will, because he slows down, not happy with it, out of the S's, and he parks it. Everybody else has finished their qualifying from here, so that is day over. Klaus Nielsen still taking a little bit of practice in this final minute as they are allowed to get out and do that. But man, thought that maybe we'd have a chance to see a little bit of action here in the last qualifying, but it doesn't look to be the case. Let's go through the starting order in the meantime. And as I mentioned, Rafael Amorim is going to be starting on pole. However, Leif Peterson is 400ths behind him, and these two have raced against each other plenty of times. So this is going to be another round in that boxing match. It'll be Jacob Schum starting from the 3rd position, followed by Travis Brody in 4th. Cameron Martineau will be in 5th, followed by Chris Braun in the 6th position. Chris Pies will be in the 7th spot. Nicky Chan starts P8 today as Rick Reinsberg will be P9. And then, Michael, we've got Julian Velez, the last of the top 10.
Yeah, Julian putting in a good time there. Looking at P11, we have Rodney Campbell putting in a nice time. All these are really, really tight. Joe Stiefel right behind, just barely, only 100th. Gabriel Albano, Mario Gonzalez, Dave Craig, Robert LaCroix, Organ Gorup, and then Justin Sang, John Martin, and rounding out the top 20, we've got Robert Rose.
21st is Shay Neely in 22nd. Ian Simon with Little Eddie in 23rd. Or Lyle Eddie, not Little Eddie.
We can call him Little Eddie.
We'll call him Little Eddie, why not? Jerry Masriello in 24th. Klaus Nielsen 25th. Robert Cottle 26th. Stephen Chen in 27th. Christian Rava 28th. And James Hughes 29th.
A little bit bigger field once again, and a little bit more talent, a little bit more speed. Let's hope it gives us a little bit more action on top of it as we wait for the pace car to take them around on a lap. And then we will get rolling once more. Travis Brody, trying to see if we got a special shirt. That was kind of his thing last time out. And no, I'm not seeing anything unique about this one. But it is a Vans shirt, which has a longtime supporter of them for skate shoes. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think, yeah, it looks like that might be our only on board here today. But Michael, all right, here we go. You were talking about your experience behind the scenes with a lot of these drivers out here. You seem very familiar. Who have you got your eye on?
A couple of drivers here. There's one who was surprisingly far back, Ian Simon. I'm used to seeing him actually right there with me, and Chris Pites. We were racing in a group called the Q Cup, which was kind of an offshoot. It was a lot of PCA members who wanted to race something other than the Porsche GT3. Now, I drove the Porsche GT3 because I'm a dork, but and I like it. It's fun to drive. But they would drive a different car, a different GT3 car, and we would have some absolutely insane battles. So I'd like to see Ian kind of move through the field. I think he's doing really well. I think Chris is going to just surprise us. I think he's going to pull a me and find himself starting in maybe, where is he right now? I think he's P7. He'll work his way up. Ian, starting in P22, unless there's some kind of weird incident with him, he is such a good driver, just got his nose to the grindstone. He will work his way through this field. He may not be able to get the hot lap, like we heard in that previous interview with the previous race, but he can just put laps down one right after the other, just like a metronome. So watch for him to move through the field pretty well too.
I'm kind of surprised I got an answer out of you. Usually you dodge that question, try not to put the commentator's curse on. So
yeah, so sorry, Chris, sorry, Ian, you're both going to crash on lap one.
Rachel, do you dare pick somebody?
Oh, 100% Leaf Peterson. But he'll
Is this,
track.
are you trying to do the reverse here? Are you trying to get him a bad race? Because you were very quick on that. Okay.
Leaf is fast, and Leaf is competent and good and very patient. He's one of those steady drivers, and with him qualifying as well, this could be a hot one for him.
All right. And speaking of hot, it is neither of that in terms of the air temperature, the track temperature, only 73 Fahrenheit currently on the surface here in Alabama, as it's still about 9 a.m. virtual standard time at Barber. Pace car is in, and now Rafael Amorim will have control of the fields. Ding, ding, round. Well, I guess not round. We are in for event 4 here today. And they are off, coming down into turn 1, almost 3 wide for the second row of cars, but it looks like Amorim's going to be able to get out ahead of Peterson, and going through the middle, I think that was Martineau, who's going to take multiple positions potentially. He's around the inside, coming through the Alabama roller coaster. No, Schum will push him back down to 4th, and we got a spin behind over Newgarden's crest. Is this going to be a massive accident? They pull off to the side mercifully, and only 2 cars are involved.
I'm sorry, Chris. I apologize. That was the curse. It happened. I will never do that to you again. I think Chris Pites got caught up in that, as well as Travis Brody. Unfortunately, the Newgarden coming up over there, I have made that exact same error on another German car company that I was doing factory driving for. Same thing, spun around right there and took off the whole left side of the car. So I feel your pain.
Meanwhile, we're riding with Martineau. Thought for sure he was going to get that second spot at the start there, Rachel, but clearly he's got the bit between the teeth.
Yeah, he really has. He's definitely in a great position to do this one. I would love to see what we can actually see evolving over this. That was a really rocky start, I think, from this one, but we expected it to be a little spicier, and they turned up the heat.
Indeed. Well, that's going to make a rough race for at least a couple drivers from the start. Thankfully, not big hits into the wall as we continue to follow Martineau chasing on Schum, the last one on the podium. Behind him, it's looking like it's getting a little close with a couple drivers, Braun and Chan, trying to vie for the last in the top 5 as we follow our leader Amorim down into Charlotte's Web. Here's the onboard with Chan now, braking hard into Charlotte's Web. Not quite close enough, unfortunately, but he's got plenty of race left to go. And Amorim currently leading is exactly where he sat at the end of last race, which was P1.
Yeah, P1's kind of where you want to be. It was a little different story last race. I think the pole sitter last race felt lucky to be there, but Amorim kind of belongs here. Look at this gap that is opening up. It's an 0.8, almost 0.9 of a second gap from P1 to P2. So that's some amazing work to be only 2 laps or so into this race.
This is Rick Reinsberg's perspective, and the 5 is Velez in front of him. Tries to keep a tidy line, keep from opening the door, because he's definitely breathing down his neck. But there's a whole other group waiting in line behind them. Campbell, Albano, Stifle is in there, Craig, as well as Sang. And this is a whole bunch of Zone 1 drivers looking to collect massive points with a bunch of top 10s, some of them just outside of there. And did Mazzariello have an issue farther back in the pack? I was seeing some drivers change some spots back behind them, but we might have a change here on screen. Coming down hard into the corner, Velez has Reinsberg looking left and right, but can't quite get the nose in there, Rachel.
Yeah, made a look for it, but not quite ready yet. Might be a good one for next time by, but this time, just a look, seeing what's available. It's early on, so you don't want to go too crazy, but it's worth taking a peek. Window shopping.
And I can report, I went to check. Simon's lost a couple spots, actually. He's down 20th. He had an attack on Martin, and unfortunately it backfired a little bit on him. But staying right here as we watch the battle for 7th. Coming out of the S's, a slightly bad run for the 33, but it's just not enough braking. Down into the tunnel for Reinsberg behind him. Up and over as they try and find their way through the blind crest of the last part of this lap. Very wide there for Rick. Opens the door for Campbell. Campbell can't step through. He's going to have to stick behind for now, Michael.
Yeah, that was an interesting little mistake. Make your mistakes like that early. Start to feel the car out, but you don't want to make too many of them. Get those mistakes out of the way, and then the rest of the race, nose to the grindstone. You know what the car is going to do now. You've felt how the track is, how it's rubbered in, and it's only going to get a little bit better, but you can't push it too far. So I think we're going to see a few more attempts right here. Look at that, just trying to take a look on the right side, a little bit of a defense nonetheless, trying to hold off that left side, saying don't try to come around me as they make their way down towards the museum turn.
And as they come over the hill, it looks like nobody's close enough to try anything at this stage. I'm kind of wondering, though, especially how hard they're running. You can see right there little puffs of smoke as they lock it up slightly out of Museum Corner. I worry about those rear tires a little bit, Rachel, trying to get the power down and all the weight being on the back.
Yeah, it's one of the definite tendencies of this car, or a trait, if anything, with the engine being right at the back of the rear axle. It does mean that you have that weight there, but it does mean it can get a little spicy when it goes. When the power's down, it will work great. When it starts to go sideways, you're off on a trip.
We come out of the final 2 turns, and still a little bit of a choo-choo train that we saw in the club class is forming itself right here in the pros as well. And we're only 5 minutes into this one. What kind of fireworks are we going to be treated to? Oh, and the car off course. That's Martineau. Martineau, who had such a fantastic start, finds himself victim to the treacherous turn 1, Michael.
Ooh, turn 1 is a tough one if you're not quite lined up. Again, like we said earlier, it's blind, like so many corners. Let's take a look at the replay here, coming down into it, just trying to hit the apex, but a little bit wide and coming back on. The way iRacing has done it to discourage people from using that overrun, there's a big kind of bump right there. And, well, now we've got a little Dukes of Hazzard driving backwards. Yeah, may as well, it's Alabama, right?
Good point.
Although I think they were Kentucky.
I thought it was Tennessee. I can't remember. We'll ask the Peanut Gallery.
Well, I grew up in North Carolina, so we'll say it's there.
We're having very important debates here on Podium tonight as we now watch from Geralt in the 734 in the midst of another big pack that is forming, being led by Gonzalez in the red and white there. A little bit of blinking behind him. That's Lacroix, who is having all kinds of issues, unfortunately, which is going to make life frustrating with Geralt just behind him. Great exit onto the front straight. Rachel, are we going to see another accident at a turn 1?
I hope not, but they could always try. As someone's getting a little blinky, this could get... Oh, he gets through. I think he just lifted out there rather than face the internet demons.
Well, that worked out well for Lacroix. Usually it winds up in disaster, but I guess his danger really made everybody go a little bit timid. Meanwhile, Geralt finds himself under threat. Martin to the outside as they brake hard down into turn 5. Going around the outside, nothing doing for the time being, just doesn't have the grip, Michael.
Yeah, the grip is kind of developing on the track. They put a lot down in the practice session and then again in qualifying, but it's really going to build up through this race session. So you're going to find more grip coming later. It's just not there yet.
And through the S's they go once again. Kind of surprised that little attack from Martin didn't open him up for Mozzariello, who's just behind him, because he could have had something aggressive on it. And this is Brody, who's now at the back of this group. And it's a big group. You can see just how many are in front of him. Interestingly, they did not give a penalty out. I shouldn't say interesting, refreshingly, they did not give a penalty out, as that didn't look like that was anybody's fault there on that one. But remember, this guy started from 4th place. This is going to be a massive task to try and climb up this hill, Rachel.
Yeah, it really is. A huge hill to climb, and it's possible, but that's a long way, especially in a class this strong.
And you can see everybody's kind of bobbing and weaving here at the back of the pack. There's plenty of opportunities way up in front of them. A little bit of side-by-side between Eddie and Simon. Looks like Ian has made better work trying to get through the fields. The 87 up into 19th now. And as they plunge back down through Museum Corner once again, the Club Northwest region driver is now starting to size up Mozzariello in front of him.
Yeah, Ian Simon, a really good driver. As I said earlier, I've done many, many races against him. Really knows what he's doing. Some I've won, some I haven't. But Ian, having to have a bit of a makeup. I think just it did not work out quite right for him in the qualifying, but there it is, right on the side of the car. Q Cup Racing, that's where I know him from. So excellent racer. Expect to see him move up, but I'm not going to put the curse on you. So this is not a curse. That already happened to Chris. I'm not doing it to you.
Rick Reinsberg now watching from the roof of that car, and Velez just in front of him does not defend, so he's not feeling under threat for the time being. In fact, nobody in behind there tries to take an alternate line, either in attack or defense. They're all just going to sit patient at this stage. We're 11 minutes into the race, and they're getting close to the pit window opening up. So maybe, Rachel, we could see a few of them just try something sneaky.
An early dive here will be great. It's track position, it's clean air, and it is away from this big knot of cars. That would be a smart choice to go in early.
Rafael Amorim doesn't really have to worry about that choice for now, because Peterson, who now we hop over to in the Maverick region, the Zone 5 driver, is 1.6 seconds back. So this is not dire by any stretch of the imagination. He's definitely keeping good pace in comparison. He's just not within touching distance, it seems, Michael. And at best, it looks like he's just got to kind of keep that pressure on.
Yeah, right now it's kind of a lonely drive, and this is a good place to be. Not trying to attack, not trying to defend too much. But let's take a look here on board with Joe Stiefel. I was watching earlier out my side eye over here, trying to watch what he's doing. He's really making a nice run up on Gabriel Albano, who is another one of the drivers I've raced against, and a really good driver. Everyone you're seeing here, these are all excellent top tier drivers, and you're going to see some really interesting planning. You're going to watch these guys going through corners. Like right now, he's thinking about, am I going to make a pass from here on the final corner? You have to plan it that far ahead, and that's exactly what these folks are doing.
For a second, I thought you were going to curse Albano as well, because he had 2 wheels off coming out of the Alabama roller coaster, and somehow not only didn't lose it, but didn't lose a position at all in that. And as we look up to the 5 just in front of them, Reinsberg second in the train of about 5 cars, vying for 6th position. Oh, and somebody's off. That's 4th position.
Chan.
Oh no, Nicky Chan from his 8th starting position all the way down to 13th. And he's going to be able to get it going. I don't think he hit the wall. Let's take another look at it, Rachel.
Yeah, we'll see on board here with Nicky Chan. And coming through, I don't see anything too dramatic. They're on a good line. But, oh.
There it is.
Huh?
Touched the grass.
But I think he did.
Must have hit the grass. It was hard to tell what happened there.
Did the grass? I think the grass jumped out and hit him. The grass is after an insurance claim because he looked like he was on the rumble strip.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day for the Wednesday night races, how the grass will just come out and grab you here. You don't expect it. You think you've got room, but it says, nope, I'm going to take you over here.
And there's Rob Campbell. Rob Campbell has a slip up and falls all the way down to 15th, maybe even 16th. This was down into Charlotte's Web. So here he is setting up off of the Alabama roller coaster through New Garden's Crest. So far, so good. Albano behind him. Will he get a spot through some contact, or will this be... Oh, it was marginal. If it was, it may have been some ghost contact.
Yeah, he and Gabriel were having a really good battle for several laps there, and there was a little communication back and forth. Oh, sorry, that scared me, or whatever. They weren't, they weren't mad at each other. Oh, as Ian goes wide.
Holy cow! How did he hold on to that? That looked like 4 wheels off.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh wow!
We'll just call that talent and leave it there.
Unbelievable. Let's take another look from Simon. And once again, in that tunnel turn, up and over the crest where there's no room to the outside, you cannot abuse that too much and get away with it, but he somehow has. Yeah, 4 wheels completely off and sideways, Rachel. It is Alabama drift tonight.
Yeah, I think we brought the wrong series here. These guys are all going for the style points.
Reinsberg, in the meantime, is trying to go for actual points ahead of P5. Julian Velez just in front of him. And Albano is looks like about a second behind after having to check up slightly for that spin from Campbell in front of him. So this gives us a bit of a gap in what was once a 5-car group at the top of the field. But as we cross the 25-minute mark of tonight's race, it's time to bring you the Hagerty Motorsports Race Break. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Hagerty, let's drive together. Coming up to the lead, Rafael Amorim. Despite it being close at the start, he managed to pull in the lead, and since then, it's been a steady pace. It's only up to 2.2 seconds. He's still being challenged somewhat, but not at a huge bit of pressure by Leif Peterson, who sits in second place. Peterson, kind of the same deal, running his own little pace out here with nobody really close in front, nobody close behind, but he's got to keep it up because it is still within about 3 seconds on either side. And it's Jacob Schum on that side behind there in the 56. He found himself in a very good battle at the start, had to fend off a challenge for that P3, which unfortunately fell away with a bit of a spin behind him in the end. And that leads us to P4, the 258 of Chris Braun, who came up from the 6th position. In fact, the first driver in the field who has changed positions here. Everybody else is where they started on that podium. After that, you've got Julian Velez, who we've been watching quite a bit, who sits in P5. He's up 5 spots here at the start, and he is being chased by Rick Reinsberg, who has just been making sure to fill those mirrors at just about every corner he sees them at. But that 2-car battle was closer to a lot of drivers, and it's split up because we just had a pit stop. We'll address that in a second, as Joe Stifel is now the one behind him in the number 3, up from the 12th spot, a 5-position gain here so far today, but he's starting to lose touch as that pack breaks up. Drivers spin and pit in. He finds fewer and fewer to try and slipstream. It is Dave Craig who is now in the 8th position behind him. He also was a big part of that huge group that we witnessed and just can't seem to hang on long enough, but he's still running comfortably here within the top 10. As long as he can keep back guys like Robert Rose, who's behind him in the 443. The Shenandoah region driver has come up from 20th position, believe it or not. So 11 spots that he has gained here today. And then finally, rounding out the top 10, it is Nicky Chan, who unfortunately was a little bit higher up, but had an incident, has gone down from 8th to 10th. Not too bad of a loss up to this stage, Michael, but he's going to want to make those back up.
Yeah, Nikki Chan having a couple of places lost, but Robert Lacroix coming up 5 places, sitting in P11 right now, doing a nice job, but having some connection issues. P12, Mario Gonzalez from the Hill Country region. That's my region, Zone 5. Up to P11. Nope, that was the connection issue we were seeing earlier. P13, we have John Martin, who is up 6 positions, but not to be outdone. Right behind him, Jerry, I'm gonna mess this one up, Mazzariello. How many positions up? 10 positions in that green car. Yeah, just making that green machine fly today. So looking on down the field, we've got Rodney Campbell. Had a difficult issue earlier on, was a little bit farther up, had a really good run, a nice battle going on, down 4 positions, but expect that to be made up. Speaking of making up some positions, Travis Brody started off near the top, all the way to the back. Are we going to see a back-to-front challenge here today from Travis? Looking really good so far from the Palmetto region. In P17, we have Robert Cottle. Cottle has come up 9 positions, doing a great job today in that nice looking red livery with the WWZ on there. Really good drive from the Intermountain region. P18, looking like we've got Christian Rava, another one of those folks I have raced against a few times in the Q Cup. Really good driver here in the 88, doing a nice job making up some laps, but unfortunately, oh wait, I was going to say he is down, but he is actually up. Christian Rava is up 10 positions also. So another one of those hot drivers out there today, making up some serious places. Rachel?
So they are 17th is Klaus Nielsen there with Lone Star Region, zone number 4 for him. Nielsen is currently up from 25th, so some big gains there as he's fighting now with the 8, who's next to him, Stephen Chen. 18th place, Diablo region there. In car number 8, Chen is having a good race now from 27th to 18th, so huge movement for him, and he's looking for more. Organ Geralp there is in the 19th spot, down from 17th, 2 places lost, but in this battle it could all change. 20th is Justin Sang there from the Golden Gate region. Sang is down from 18th. That is a drop of 2 spots for him tonight, but still plenty in grasp. Gonzalez is down from 14th. Not a great race for him tonight in that 777, but the Hill Country region driver is doing his best. Rodney Campbell from the BC Interior region. Hey, a Canadian there in the 62. Zone number 6. He's trying to work his way through this one, see what he can find. Campbell's been up and down a little bit. It's not been a really good day for him. Started 11th, down to 22nd. 23rd is Ian Simon from the Whiskey Bay region. He's where he started, unfortunately. It's not been the race he wanted. The Whiskey Bay region driver still trying everything he can find. Pies is having a rough day today, the Texas driver there with the googly eyes. Normally we see him at the front. Down from 7th place, a rough race after some early contacts, leaving that Texas driver in a really bad spot. Cameron Martineau, the North Country region in the 21 there, is down from 5th. Another victim of early contact, trying to recover what they can. 26th or 5th, yep, it's Lyle Eddy here tonight, not Little Eddie. The Pacific Northwest region driver there from zone 6 is down from 23rd and scored 1 lap down. Jay McNeely there from the Oregon region is down from 21st. Another car 1 lap down, trying to get some points at least on the board. Behind them it is Gabriel Albano and James Huth rounding out our field.
Indeed, Albano, our only DNF so far. But this concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Hagerty Motorsports. Big thanks once again to them for help making this one happen. Oh, and this is side by side, the one we've been waiting for. Reinsberg managed to get a run and goes the long way around of a more than 180-degree corner, almost putting wheels, and he did put wheels into the grass coming off of New Gardens Crest behind him. It's all erupting. Looks like Joe in the number 3 tries to get his nose in on Velez. It doesn't quite stick. That was a long time coming, Michael, but what a pass from Rick.
Yeah, Rick's been working on that for quite a while, but Velez has been doing a really nice job holding him off. Not to be outdone, though, looking to attack back. Watch how he's just sitting there, putting the nose in, filling up those mirrors, but you gotta be careful because right behind him is just another attack ready to happen. Joe Stiefel's ready to take advantage, as we saw last time, going right into Charlotte's Web there, got the nose in, thought the better of it, but actually trying to make a point. Hey guys, I can pass you, so watch out. I'm going to come through as soon as you make a mistake. Look at this. Look at that run. Nice run coming up around the penultimate corner.
Oh, and Dave Craig at the back of that quartet is deciding to pit now. So he likes the looks of things here with 16 minutes to go to try and jump the rest of them, since he sees some fighting erupt. But the number 3, Joe Stiefel, he really wants to try and get by Velez.
Yeah, he's looking for his way to get around there. He's doing what he can. Like we said, watch for him to put his nose here as we go into Charlotte's Web one more time if he can get close enough.
I think our latest is Christian Rava down into pit lane, so that leaves us about 14 cars that still need to stop. 0.3 of a second here, splitting P6 and P7. Doesn't look like there's going to be much of it down into Museum Corner. You're not missing anything up at the front either. It's still been slowly spreading apart between Ameren, Peterson, and Schum. We come on to the back stretch, and well, it was getting exciting for a brief moment, and then just like that, Rachel, it all dissipates.
Yeah, it suddenly calmed down, didn't it? I think we needed time to breathe. The driver's just being kind to us in the booth.
So coming through the bowl here. Let's see if any of them respond on the pit stops. Reinsberg does not. Velez does not. Stiefel does not, but Robert Rose is in. Robert saw that from behind last time, and I think he took the cue, decided now is the time to pit. Nicky Chan, who had his spin earlier on, is going to continue on. Sits in 8th position where he started, but again, he's lost a couple because of his incident, so he still has to serve a pit stop, and he's going to hand some of those right back in the form of the pit sequence. The 000, unfortunately, not going to be able to get as high as he was before. 4th place before, and a pretty good season back last time. Ooh, look at Chris Pies here. Another one that we usually see a little bit higher up, and he's got Brody, who we also tend to see higher up. So this is 2 incredibly fast drivers here, Michael, that are vying for some of the last spots in the pro group.
I promise I'm not going to curse them anymore because both of these drivers have had, and actually if we look up ahead of that, that's Ian Simon. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut about this. I'm not going to say a word about any of these 3 because they don't need any more of my curse on them.
And Martineau. Yeah, this is essentially everybody who was up at the front or should have been up at the front as they go side by side. And that's Pies, who's going to manage to get inside of Travis Brody, but the battle's going to carry on down into Museum Corner, still defending. And Ian Simon ahead of them trying to use this as a chance to get away. Looks like Brody will keep him behind, Rachel, but it's starting to kick off.
Oh, it is starting to kick off. It is spicy now. 13 minutes on the board. An unlucky number, and I think it might be lucky for some people and less lucky for others with this racing. They're starting to really pick up the pace now.
I'm looking through, and I'm pretty certain all 4 of them have pitted for what it's worth, so they might be able to get a couple spots back after this. We'll see, as I think, about one more lap maybe.
Pit. Our leader just came out of the pits, so he decided to take that pit a little bit early. I think he was looking at traffic ahead of him and decided it was time. We saw a bunch of people back in the field a little way making that same decision, and it's looking like it's actually going to work out pretty well for him, as right now he's sitting in 6th position, only 34 seconds in the lane, but 11.3 seconds stationary. That's a little bit long. He might be a little bit heavy on fuel.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Schum's pitting in this time, and that could be decisive. So Peterson, Ameren, both in and out. And now we get to see where the podium sits in terms of each other, because Peterson a little bit farther back. Amarim picking up spots as yet more drivers are in. I think this is actually the end of the pit window. Yes, everybody down. Schub still taking fuel. Amarim is by. Peterson also by just as Schum starts to accelerate. Not even close, unfortunately. The 56 going to return at what looks like about 5 seconds back, unfortunately. The last of them now down pit lane, Rachel, and we get to see how it all winds up.
Yeah, we certainly do, and this could be those final moments now where we're seeing those last pitters cycle out, and we'll see things get into what we call running order rather than the mixed pit strategy kind of cycle where we've got cars up and down the field. This is the kind of area where we know where people truly are on the track.
Worth noting, I think Pies managed to get by Martineau.
He did. He's up to 17th, but Martineau is not letting it stand. If we can get a quick look at this, these guys are nose to tail. And so Pies is the one with the Texas flag livery on his car, trying to keep Martineau behind him, doing a good job coming off the corner, but under braking. Notice how Martineau just closes that up, gets a really good foot into the brake, has a little bit better control, I think, getting into the brakes. I think the problem may be the googly eyes.
Boy, you're afraid he doesn't have his eyes on the Pies?
No.
Yes, let's go with that.
No, bad pun.
Well, the fight that we were watching a little bit earlier was the battle. I couldn't resist. The battle for 7th place in the upper pack, which honestly is still, I think, a little bit hotter. Yeah, here as we come to that, that is Julian Velez a little bit in front of them, the 33, starting to get himself some distance, which I'm sure he is grateful for, because look at how tight it is in there. In fact, they were almost side by side last time, coming down into the Charlotte's Web. And let's see who gets the launch off of the Alabama roller coaster. Oh, thought maybe Stiefel was going to be under challenge from Chan, but he just gets the throttle down. He forces Dave Craig to try and hold the inside line down into there. Could he get him on the over-under? Maybe no. Instead, he's slow and almost reveals himself to Nicky Chan in the 000. But they all stay in order, Michael, as they now come up to Museum Corner.
It was interesting to see the 3, 4, I don't know, half a dozen different ways they were taking that corner as they get really tight up in there. Dave Craig trying to maybe push through a little bit, trying to make up this position. This is turning out to be a really nice battle here because Joe Stiefel is only about 0.2, about a quarter second off of Dave Craig.
Looks like we got a penalty for Travis Brody. This has been a day to forget. In fact, is he going to go dead last? Yeah, he is going to be the last driver running now because Shane McNeely is now by. Oh, we've had an off for Pies. Or no, Martineau. Martineau just had an off and thankfully kept it out of the barrier, but this was through the tunnel turn.
That's what happened. Really tough place, and like the others mentioned earlier, it's just the undulation here is just off camera and it throws people around, I think.
It is a tough one to try and manage as we find ourselves flying down into Charlotte's Web. And once again, a little bit of defensive move showing itself from some of the drivers. Or is that a tax? Oh! That was a mistake of anything. Dave Craig is going to slip up. The door opens up, and Joe manages to step through P8, Rachel, in the blink of an eye.
Hey, sometimes those places just open up for you. The sea parts and, well, go fishing.
I think we got a big one right there. That's going to be valuable points for his region, no doubt. Coming along the backstretch, is this going to be another spot gone? Because Nicky Chan looks very interested in that 000, breaking down into the tunnel turn. The Zone 1 driver just hounds him at every corner. He's got 8 minutes left on the clock. He takes the inside. He almost gets underneath him at the apex, Michael.
Yeah, this is really a good setup That's what you're trying to do there, is get them off their game, make them lose their timing. Nicky has been doing a great job working back through the field after that earlier trouble. So just got to play that mental game to work your way back through. Sometimes it helps to just stick that nose in there and test it. Sometimes they'll just roll over and give it to you. I know that I've seen people that are doing a pretty good job. I put my nose in there and they're like, oh, that's Michael, I'm getting out of the way. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of that in this group. Everybody here, as we saw, is really tight. These racers are all doing a great job keeping good laps down. We're not seeing a lot of incidents, but we're seeing some great racing and some respectful racing.
Absolutely. And, it only just occurred to me, I think we were on the 17, our leader, Amarim, for a second. Is his paint scheme an homage to a late 90s Porsche? It looks very, very familiar.
It does, but I think it was one of the prototypes. That was, I'm trying to remember which. I want to say 962. But it might, I would have to go through memory that doesn't exist anymore, that I've lost from one too many contacts with the wall.
As we watch with Joe once again, he wants another one, and it's Justin Sang in front of him, coming down into turn one, doesn't shake him off into a mistake through there. As you get higher up, it's always going to be harder, Rachel, to try to get those guys off their edge.
Yeah, it really is. Getting the guys who are really fast and great racers to rackle it is really hard. They'll be focused on their own race, not just defense, because you've got to play both sides. You've got to run your race and defend, not just defend.
Whoa!
That was close.
Just about made contact. Thankfully did not spin them if he did touch. Oh, wow. Thought we were going to see another driver turned around. Wouldn't be the first this race there through Charlotte's Web. So hard to keep from accordioning together. Meanwhile, down to 5 minutes left. Where is Amram? He's just crossing the line. So we're looking at about 4 laps left to go now through the S's. Little bit of curb there from the 23. Slows him up slightly.
Yeah, slowing him down slightly, but the 3 taking advantage of this. I think we're going to see a little Daniel Ricciardo magic work its way into here, doing a nice job working up through the field. Every time I look over and look at what the gaps are between these cars, it's always like 2, 3, 4 tenths wherever Joe Stiefel is concerned.
Peanut Gallery has answered. Thank you to our viewers. I was right. Late 90s, 98 Porsche GT1. And I believe that was indeed one that raced at the Petit Le Mans in the early days of that event. As we continue to watch Joe now come off of Newgarden's crest, and Sang still not able to be shaken off the racing line, doesn't even defend, but takes a lot of the inside curb, Rachel, coming down into Charlotte's Web. I'm kind of amazed that didn't upset the car more.
Yeah, I'm really impressed that didn't actually. He had great skill there holding on to that, and it did exactly what he needed. Sometimes you got to just hold on to whatever you've got and just pray it'll work.
And it did indeed, at least this time. Not sure how many times they'll be able to get away with that. Down through the S's on the backstretch. They spread apart. So he'll have to try and hustle to try and get an attack on before the last lap here, because those couple tenths of a second, those 5 to 8 tenths of a second between them is not going to cut the mustard today. And as they come around on the final turn, look at how far ahead Velez is getting as well. Here with Nicky Chan. Despite that early incident, I thought we'd see some inroads here, Michael, but just stuck in this 10th place and really not making much in the way of an attack.
Yeah, having a really difficult time. And if you notice, like last lap, Nicky was up about 2 tenths on Dave. But overall, like for fastest lap, we're looking at about a 6 tenths of a lap difference in outright speed. But when you get stuck back in traffic, you get under braking here, maybe you have to slow down half a mile per hour more. Maybe you have to do a different attack on a particular corner. You want to do that real lifestyle second apex on the Charlotte's Web instead of what's kind of preferred in the sim is that double apex. and maybe it worked better for you, and you just can't do it. You can't get your time that way because there's someone attacking you behind it. They might slide up through. So it's a really tough position to be in, and I don't know that we're going to see any more movement without some kind of error from this pack of four in front.
By the way, nice move by Lacroix this past lap. He overtook Robert Rose to take 12th place. So there is some movement happening in the mid-pack here. Just this one requires quite a bit of bravery for the fight from essentially 7th, 8th, 9th down to 10th position. Crossing the line, I think we're going to get the white flag next time by, but it'll be close because Amram crossed with about 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. And remember, as down to the inside, well, we said Nicky Chan wasn't attacking. I think he was listening. He said, take this. And unfortunately, it didn't get him a spot, but now he's come alive, Rachel.
Yeah, really has come alive, and this is definitely heating up now. Not long left. There's like 2 laps, I think, in this, and these guys all know this is the time they've got to make.
Worried about maybe how much time how many laps he's got to try and make it stick. Might as well start trying to throw things at the wall and see what hangs there for a second. Crossing the line now, 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go as Amram had 1:26 left on the clock.
Yeah, a lot of time left, a lot of laps left. 2 laps, you can do a lot. I start to set up things quite often a lap in advance, and if it doesn't work, well, you got another lap to do it. And this is the time, I think, looking back at someone like Nicky Chan, who we were watching, Dave Craig, they need to start planning that pass now in case it doesn't work, and then they can try it again on that last lap.
We talked about earlier the number of Zone 1 drivers that we had up around like 5th to 12th position, all just together. It is actually Zone 3 that Amram is racing for up at the front, where everybody really wants those max points to chuck in, and Zone 3 actually was one of those with Hurricane Alley leading the Zone Group Challenge currently. And down to the inside once again, Nicky Chan fancies his chances, but the 000 cannot make it stick. And the white flag is now coming out for Rafael Amram, who is approaching the front stretch. So
Nice run there by Amram. Fantastic race. He just measured that thing and measured twice, and cut once.
certainly did. Looking very professional as just has to cruise around. He's still got about 5 seconds back to Peterson. It's not as big of a gap of what we saw last race, but certainly is handy. So Chan will also now get that white flag here in a second as they come up to the line, hoping that maybe he can at least get one of those back behind them. We see a little bit of a battle as well. I think this is between Rose and Mazzariello. In fact, Mazzariello, did he just overtake somebody? No, excuse me, he's caught up to Rose, who was overtaken by Lacroix. So, speaking of which, in front of them, John Martin is off, and he's gonna spin back onto the track and tries to find a way across just as cars get through. Unfortunately, that sent Chris Pies off. Yeah, he barely threaded that needle, and unfortunately did cause a little bit of an incident. Not sure if the stewards are going to take an ill look at that, but in the meantime, what was an ill drive was the number 17 taking a flawless victory here today. Rafael Amram, a win in California. Across the country, he comes to Alabama and takes another victory at Barber.
Yeah, nice drive by Amram right there. Peterson trying to put on a show, but realized I'm in a good position sitting back here. I don't need to go to any battles. I'm just going to sit here in second and take my points.
Meanwhile, Justin Sang, is he going to get attacked by... Or no, he's going to try and attack Velez there for a moment. He was looking to the inside through the bowl. That didn't work, unfortunately. Almost allowed Joe Stiefel to maybe have a think about things, and poor Chan could not overtake Craig. Pat on the back for that 996 to play defense all race long and still hold on to it. Meanwhile, they're going to trickle across the line with not many close enough to try and fight here at the end, unfortunately. So it looks pretty stationary. I will say Nielsen and Simon might be able to swap spots. Here they are, Rachel, as we're on board with Ian.
It's super close here. Ian Simon looking for an opportunity on the 4, getting so close to that bumper, but he runs a little wide. Maybe he goes wide here, goes for an undercut, dive in, but it's going to be a Hail Mary type move if he goes for it. And no, not close enough at all.
Oh, is he?
Don't speak too soon. Don't speak too soon. It's a drag race.
He's got it.
Done. The undercut.
Nicely done from Ian. Nice.
Brilliant stuff there. That's going to give him the 21st position, which brings us to our results here for this race. Rafael Amorim, as we reported just a moment ago, was your winner over Leif Peterson. Kind of uneventful up there at the top of the field. Jacob Schum finished third after a bit of a challenge in the first laps, and then from there he was all by himself. Chris Braun, same deal, just kind of ran his own thing. He wound up with 4th place. Rick Reinsberg definitely didn't have his own race. He was in a fight for much of it and wound up with the top 5. Julian Velez was 6th in the end. Justin Sang from 18th to 7th. Kudos to the 23 car. Joe Stiefel was just behind him in the 8th spot. Dave Craig finished 9th, and Nikki Chan had to settle for a mere top 10, Michael.
Looking at P11, Robert Lacroix doing a nice job coming up through that race. Robert Rose in P12. Behind him, we have our hard charger, I believe. Our tie for hard charger. 11 positions up was Jeremy Mazzariello, followed by Mario Gomez, Rodney Campbell, John Martin, Cameron Martineau. 18th will be Robert Cottle. 19th will be Stephen Chen, with P20, Oren Girl.
21st is Ian Simon with that last second pass there with Klaus Nielsen 22nd at the end. Christian Rafa 23rd. Chris Pies in 24th, last car on the lead lap, with Lyle Eddy in 25th. Shea McNeely in 26th. Travis Brody 27th. Gabriel Albano in 28th. And James Huth in 29th.
Which is going to take us to an interview with our winner for the second race in a row, Rafael Amorim. Rafael, from our perspective, that one, I wouldn't say looked easy, but it looked like you pretty much had that decided for yourself from the green flag.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Leaf is a great driver, and Jacob was also close there. So obviously, I was trying to find a good balance between not taking too many risks and trying to open a gap to Leaf. But I couldn't take it easy. Otherwise, I'll give Leaf a bunch of chances to catch up and try to pass. So it was a fun race. Was a tough one to just try to keep the gap with Leaf and not take too many risks and too many chances.
You may have had a bit of a leg up because being from Georgia, you're right next door here to Alabama. Have you gotten to run this place in real life?
I have not. It's definitely on my bucket list. I love the track in the sim, and I usually do well here. I think this is my 3rd win at Barber, so really happy and love the track. So this is great.
I know it seems like the obvious question, but it does beg to be asked. You've had back-to-back wins now. Can you make it a three-peat and sweep the Zone Group Challenge?
Well, I'm certainly going to try. It's definitely going to be difficult. A bunch of good drivers. I love VIR. I think it's a super fun track, but very challenging. So there's just a lot that can happen there, and we have some other great drivers here. So I'll give my best. It'll be amazing to do that, but we'll see. I'll try to finish as high as I can and bring some points to Zone 312.
Which he did today. That was Rafael Amorim, your winner in that number 17. And up next, Michael has caught up with Leif Peterson, who he may have been quick, but not quick enough today.
So, Leif, taking a look back at your race, it seemed like kind of a Sunday drive, sort of alone driving through the countryside in a beautiful part of Alabama.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought maybe Rafael kind of teased me a little bit at the beginning and let me stay up with him, and then he just found another gear about lap 7. We're both doing like 2s and 3s and 4s, and then all of a sudden he just puts it in another gear. Lap 7 he does a 0, a 1, a 0, and just gaps me. And then he does it again 15, 16, 17. So I think he just gets bored after a while and does a Fred Flintstone.
and just decides to pedal faster at that point. But
Yeah.
Even behind you, there was a pretty big gap going back to your rival in P3. You just managed that gap beautifully. I think you may have been doing the exact same thing to Jacob as Raphael was doing to you, just trying to hold onto that gap and keeping it there. Was that kind of what was going on for you?
Yeah. So I teach these guys that you're not going to get any faster in the race, and Jacob's got his comfortable pace, which is a high 21s, and mine's mid 21s, and Raphael's low 21. So, if we make a mistake, the other guy's there to catch us, right? But yeah, we just run our line and we know where we're going to end up. We just have to execute.
So execute, you did quite well. It was just a great race. You kind of put everything, put every foot right all the way through and didn't make any mistakes. So how is it looking for you at VIR? Are you used to the track? Have you done it a lot? Have you done it in real life or only the sim? What do you think about your chances there?
Oh, yeah, pretty good. I mean, we ran there last season in this car and I did pretty well. Chris and Raphael had some trouble, and I ended up, I think, coming in second. I don't remember. Yeah, I love that track. I haven't run it in real life. I hope to this year in the WRL, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, if you need any tips, my racing team, Tech Sport Racing, is based there. So just let me know if you need some hands. I'm available. So who do you have to thank for being? Absolutely, no problem.
I'm making the call me sign with my fingers.
There you go. Love it. So who do you have to thank for this P2 today?
Oh yeah. My teammates on Imperial Motorsport are Sim Endurance League, which is Pies, Kika, Smith, Who's, Stiffle, Mike McKinney, and Billy Smith is also my real life teammate and engineer. So yeah, shout out to those guys, keeping it real.
Yeah, well, great job today. Bring it home in P2. Unfortunately, a little bit of a Sunday drive, but hey, an uneventful race where you end up on the podium is always a good one. And yes, right now, I think we have Rachel has Jacob Schum to talk to.
I do indeed. Jacob Schum in that 56 machine coming home today third. And just like last race, the guy who started third finished third. Is that just the luck of the threes? Jacob, do we have you?
Hello.
Hi. Jacob started third, finished third. Was it just the luck of being third place today?
At this track, I believe so, because qualifying position matters immensely and helps for the race as well. So I believe starting P3, starting on the inside lane as well, that definitely helped me achieve this podium.
Certainly a great result, of course. We have VIR coming up for the final of these 3 rounds. How's that one for you?
VR is a great track. It's one of the. This is actually my home track, or one of our home tracks. Even though Barber is in Zone 3 and 12, but VIR is a very fun track. So I am looking forward to it.
Awesome, fantastic to hear. Anybody like to give a shout out to or thank for this?
Yes, I'd like to thank my family first. My dad, Jonathan, my mom, Cecilia, and my sister, Coco. I also like to thank Team Sim Racing. And I also like to thank all my endurance teammates, Raphael Amrim, Dewey Kang, Ed Nelson, Joe Stiffle. And I also like to thank the Hurricane Alley guys for being a great zone group. And also like to thank all Podium Esports.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Jacob Schum. Coming home today in third place.
Which is going to wrap up the racing, wrap up our interviews. But before we go, gotta ask you guys how you thought about how Barber went this week. We'll start with Michael, as it put on some great racing, I feel like.
Well, Barber is one of those tracks that it's not only gorgeous when you're driving in and seeing the grounds and everything, but the racing at this track always brings some just amazing attempts to get in and make these passes or to defend these passes. I love racing and watching racing at Barber. It's just one of those tracks. One, it's gorgeous. Two, the racing that happens here, it brings out the best in every driver.
Rachel, what did you think of this place?
Barber's a fantastic track. It's a very, very exciting place to race and wonderful to drive, but a tricky one in this threesome of races. I think VIR will be a different story.
I agree. I think it's going to be a different kettle of fish for sure, but we'll see you next time there at VIR for the Challenge and Sport classes. That kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday, February 28th, live here on Podium Esports. Thank you so much to our sponsor, Haggerty Motorsports, and a big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing. Also, a huge thanks to our team tonight, Michael, Rachel, Ryan, Nick, and Dougie. Also, none of this would be possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing presented by Haggerty. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.